Folks, the losses keep growing. I'm going to get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the city of Toronto for a week ending May 28th, 2025. Let me start off with a bit of a history lesson, a reminder for many of you that are watching here today. Beginning of 2022, the first part of 2022, we hit peak pricing. That's when home prices were the highest. But for many years leading up to 2022 and peak pricing moment, almost regularly home prices were appreciating, climbing every single year. And lots of people made it a choice to make money doing this. You could have been a contractor where you would buy a home, reno, and sell it and made a profit. Or you could have been a family that routinely was doing this. You bought a home, you lived in it, and did rentals while you lived in it. You were there for a little over a year, you sold it at a profit, and you moved on. And lots of people did this. It worked out until it didn't. When we hit peak pricing, and nobody knew it was peak pricing until afterwards, knowing, okay, well, that was the highest and we're not there anymore. So we're on the other side of peak pricing. This is now into the second half of 2022. There's lots of people that bought before peak pricing, thinking prices were going to continue to climb. They bought with the sole intention of selling in a relatively short period. Maybe they would do some updates. A lot of them did, some rentals, some updates, but then sell at a profit. But when prices went down and turned, a lot of people got caught. And for many reasons, you could say the market changed. They got caught. What was working for years is no longer working. And it's just bad luck that the market turned around. You could say, oh, they should have known, they should have expected it, but nobody really knows what the market is going to do for sure, 100%. So a lot of people got caught. I'm telling you that because today we're seeing it still happen. And the market has not been as strong as it was at peak pricing. We are far from peak pricing, yet we're seeing many examples of people still doing what was done before. They have a different attitude towards it. They are basically buying. Well, I'll give you an example of a property we sold. We were representing a seller. This was around the beginning of 2024. We sold the property. And when you compared what we sold it at versus where prices used to be at peak pricing, there's about a $400,000 difference. At peak pricing, that home would have been sold for about $2 million. When we sold it in 2024, sold for about 1.6. So the person who bought it, we could tell right away their whole plan was to update, reno, and then sell it later. But I'm not giving them advice. I'm representing a seller, and we got a reasonable price of what the market was for that type of house at the time that we sold it. Well, these people went in, did a ton of rentals while they were living in the home, and about a year later, the home went up for sale. We've seen it on the market now. They've started at a really high price, and they've done price reductions and price reductions and price reductions, and they're still on the market now. If they now sell at the price they're listed at, which they won't, the property's been on the market for a while now at that price, but assuming they sell roughly where they're listed at right now, they're probably going to lose $350,000 to $400,000. But they bought thinking prices are so much better now than they were at peak. Let's buy it. This has to be the bottom, is what they were thinking, because prices change so much. And that's where people make mistakes. They could be right, they could be wrong. In this case, they were wrong. The market continued to trend downwards. Prices for their area, for their home type, continue to trend down, and they're losing a ton of money on this property. We see this happening a lot, and people are buying with the attitude, it's not widespread, but we see many examples of this where they bought 2023, 2024, and now the home's for sale. We can see when they bought it, the condition of the home. We see the condition of the home now. We've had conversations with other agents, with other clients, and there's many people thinking when they bought that for sure the market's going to turn around. And they were buying thinking that they're buying at the bottom. So it's like we're not learning our lesson that somehow, some way we can predict what the market is doing. And that's the biggest flaw in this plan. Buying that you think you bought at the bottom, and absolutely for sure the market's going to be so much better because you're using as a standard peak pricing. That was a crazy time. It is by no means the bar to say, well, if prices were there then, here's where we are now. In no time at all, at some point, they're going to be back there again in the very near future. It's flawed. It's a flawed way of understanding what's happening with home prices. And the reality is nobody can accurately predict what home prices are doing. Yet, many people are trying to do that. They're buying, thinking they're buying at the bottom right now, and they're getting caught, and they're losing thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars doing it. There's many examples of properties right now for sale that if you give them the list price, the seller's losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. In conclusion, let me leave you with this. We're all adults. You can make whatever decision you feel is best for you and your family. But if your plan is to buy now because you believe we're at the bottom and sell in the near future at a profit, understand there are hundreds of sellers out there right now selling at a loss and have recently sold at a loss, thinking exactly what you thought. And right now, this market is the most unpredictable market we've seen. Let me leave you with that. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video, in the description, there's a link to my calendar, or you can go to tsre.ca. Takes you straight to my calendar. Pick a date and time that suits you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. City of Toronto. We're focused on the freehold market, detached, semi-detached townhomes. These are freehold townhomes. I've got average sold price here. I also have the average sold price for condos here. We're not talking about condos on this show. That's tomorrow's show. But for reference, the difference between the average condo price and the average detached price for week ending May 28th is $1,010,000. Big difference between the two. We're going to start off with detached properties. For week ending May 28th, 191 detached properties were sold. This is only for the City of Toronto. 191 were sold. 57 of those sold at $2 million or more. Overall, when you kind of step back and see what's happening from the beginning of the year and we're looking at sales, it's pretty safe to say sales have been overall, not every week, but overall trending upwards. Also, the amount of property selling at $2 million or more, kind of trending upwards. Average sold price is $1,715,000. That's for week ending May 28th. But if we step back and we look at average sold price, kind of looks like to me average sold price overall for all detached properties has been trending downward. Not aggressively, but downward. Compared to last year, 1,715,000 is 4% lower than where the average sold price was a year ago. The median price of 1,411,000 is 6% lower year over year. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. For average price and median price, I've made a note here, both are trending down, but slightly. It's not aggressive, although there's something happening the last few weeks here with average sold price. We'll see how that plays out. 191 were sold, 82 of those, so 43%, we're approaching half, 43% sold at list price or more. 574 are new detached listings just for the week of May 28th. Those are big numbers. If we go back a few weeks, 592, 514, 567, now 574 new detached properties being listed. Active listings is climbing. We're now at over 2,800 available detached properties for sale. And months of inventory, you remember last week was the long weekend there, and said, yeah, you know, that months of inventory, maybe it's not so accurate when we were hovering in the mid threes, and then one week we jumped up because sales were so low that week. Well, guess what? We're back down to where we were on average previous to the 5.8 that we saw last week. So for week ending May 28th, months of inventory sitting at 3.4. Again, pretty normal over the last 3 months. That's where we've been, just in the balanced market range. So you're going to have some neighborhoods. Well, actually, let me show you. Here's the whole city broken down into 9 sections. The whole city averages to 3.4 months of inventory. And except for 1 or 2 areas, for example, Willowdale, Bayview at 9.3 months of inventory, most other areas don't deviate that much from 3.4. Scarborough's at 2.7, Beaches, East York, Riverdale, 2.6, High Park, 2.3, Etobicoke, 3.7, Midtown, 3.1. A lot of these areas don't deviate that far up or down from the overall average of 3.4. But that's all detached properties. Let me show you a few new charts that we're introducing here. So here's a breakdown of what is happening activity-wise just for 3-bedroom detached properties. You can see sales. Overall, sales have been increasing. For week ending May 28th, 90 3-bedroom detached properties were sold. Average sold price for the 3-bedroom is $1,399,000. Average price for 3 bedrooms looks like it's been trending down. That's 3 bedrooms. Let's look at 4 bedrooms. Sales look like overall, not every week, but overall, trending up. For week ending May 28th, for 4-bedroom detached properties, 69 were sold. Now, average sold price for 4 bedrooms sitting at $2,140,000. And average sold price for 4 bedrooms kind of looks like it's trending up. So 3 bedrooms trending down, 4 bedrooms trending up. And here's the comparison. So we've got the blue, 4 bedrooms, the orange, 3 bedrooms. Well, the difference in price, in average sold price between the two, $741,000. And you can see the sales here. There's way more 3 bedrooms being sold versus the 4-bedroom. And which you would expect that, right? Because of the price point. But here's a comparison. 4 bedrooms versus 3 bedrooms. Semi-detached properties for week ending May 28th. 60 semi-detached properties were sold. 17 of those sold at $1.5 million or more. It's really tough to say if sales are trending up, down, maybe slightly they're trending down, but That's because there's 1 or 2 weeks here a little bit higher. Otherwise, they kind of seem flat. It's really hard to say which way sales are going. Average sold price sitting at $1,296,000. That's for this week, week ending May 28th. Median price is $1,285,000. Median price, there's basically a 0% change this time over last year. For average sold price, it's 11% lower year over year. And overall, median price and average price is trending down slightly. Months of inventory sitting at 2.1 for semi-detached properties. For townhouses, these are freehold townhouses. 31 freehold townhouses were sold for week ending May 28th. 31 is, if we go, I've got a year on the board here. 31 is our busiest week for freehold townhouses. There's no other week in a year where we've sold more in 1 week. 6 of those sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is $1,240,000. 1,240 is 3% lower year over year. The median price of 1,220 is 9% lower year over year. And months of inventory sitting at 2 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. Quick summary of months of inventory. You're going to find in some areas it's going to be more of a balanced market, but it's kind of hovering between the top end of a seller's market, the bottom end of a balanced market, a price point, neighborhood, condition of the home. All these are going to play into whether you need to buy it quickly or you're going to realize your sale quickly, or the other way, you're going to sit on the market for a while, or you have time to think whether you want to put in an offer or not. All these factors are going to determine what market you're going to experience. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.